we've spoken quite a lot about the end consumer, but let's dive into payments orchestration a bit more. And obviously when you've got so many different ways to pay, and as you mentioned, you've got to constantly find the latest way to pay, how can merchants keep up with that? How can payment institutions enable this ability for merchants to be able to just have a one-stop shop and accept all those different payment options?
Yeah, the short answer is there are very few companies in the world that will be able to give you a full one-stop shop anymore. I'm not saying they don't exist, there are a couple, and certainly there are some big end-to-end players that do everything from the point of sale device all the way through to their own acquiring. And they more and more want to offer as much as possible to become that one-stop shop. But the reality is, for everyone else, you're gonna need to play with multiple partners. You know, there is no one answer to everything. And again, that's where orchestration, where integration becomes really key, because one of the challenges of working with many different partners is, well, how does all that data flow? How do all of those things work well together? How do I make sure that the experience A, if I'm using route A, is the same as experience B if I'm using route B? And that's kind of where we're playing, is we're saying, look, you don't need to find one acquirer that accepts every payment type. You don't need to find one point of sale terminal that can do everything. What you do is you find the right components which are right for you, which allow you to build up that ecosystem, and then you have a platform that ties those things together. So as and when you need to add alternative payments, you don't need to wait for the acquirer to support it. We can go directly to the alternative payment method and integrate and switch those transactions through to the APM instead of going through to the traditional acquirer. As and when, for our customers, you want to evolve how you accept those payments on the front end, you can change the terminals in the field, and the new terminals will do the same that the old terminals did. And as you want to change how you acquire those payments in the back end, we can seamlessly switch from acquiring route A to B to C. And again, we're just all about that openness, that flexibility, not tying people into these walled gardens, these end-to-end spaces, but actually saying, look, we can take a really good guess, but we don't know where payments is going in the next 5 years. You know, it might be that everything goes soft POS and it's consumer bring your own devices and off-the-shelf devices everywhere, and you know, every large retailer who already has stock-taking devices, well, all of those are going to be payment enabled, and basically every screen's a payment device, right? That might be the way it goes, or it may go the way that Amazon wants it to go, which is, you know, fully no touch point at all. Consumer walks into the store, we identify them through a barrier, and then they don't need to pay. It might go that way as well. But importantly, you need to have the flexibility to know that whichever way it goes, or you know, this magical third route which hasn't even really been discovered yet, whichever way it goes, can you support that? And the answer, if you're using a proper orchestration system, is yeah, absolutely. As far as we're concerned, how the payment is accepted is just an endpoint, and then how we process the payment is just another integration point. And we can tie those things together and mean that their systems still work really nicely together. And online's a really interesting one, right? Again, you know, when we go down to the trade floor, we tend to be the people still talking in person in a world of online. And again, online is a hugely competitive space, right? Something like, and I'm sure these figures have changed a little bit slightly recently, but something like 85% of payments are still in person. And so at the moment, you've got an entire industry vying for that last, you know, 10 to 15 to 20, whatever it is now, % of the payment space. And so our approach to online is to say, look, there are going to be companies that do it way better than us. That's not our specialism. But what we want to be able to do is enable you to pick the right online solution, the right online companies, and deliver a seamless, and I hasten to use the word omni-channel, but certainly cross-channel payments experience by using the best in-person solutions and the best online solutions, and have those platforms connected properly, have the interconnections, the data sharing, the ways that those transactions can work really nicely integrated together. And again, I think that's a really good way of doing it, because online is hyper complicated, but for different reasons, right? In-person is super complicated because it's heavily regulated and it's devices, and you know, there's physicality there, and you've got to get things to places to actually have acceptance. Online is hyper complicated because of the breadth of it, right? And we're starting to see some of that in-person, but you know, I mean, I as a consumer get to the point now where if I have to pay on a website and I actually have to type my card number in, kind of see that as a chore now, right? With with Google Pay, with PayPal, with all of these acceptance routes that mean I don't need to type anything in. I just go, yeah, make pay happen, please. So there's a whole load of complexity around online, which there are lots of very good companies dealing with in very, very good ways. And so the way we play that is we're completely agnostic to what online payments our customers want to use. We make sure that we are able to play nice with those customers, with those companies, and give really solid integrations to say, look, let's share that data. Let's be open about what payment transactions have happened in store, what payment transactions have happened online. What do you know about the person that's paid with the card with this number? Oh, well, we know this about that customer, and you can start to tie that data together and actually have that single customer view and all of those sorts of things. But there are only two ways that happens. One is you find that monolith company that can do everything, and they do all of your online payments and all of your in-store payments and all of the device stuff, and then obviously they have all of the data. So they can start tying that all together. Or you adopt openness, you adopt open standards, and you adopt this method of integrating different parties together who are specialists in their own ways, and you have conversations and you say, hey, look, well, who's going to be the primary platform for X and Y? And often that involves a modicum certainly from some of the companies that we work with of competitive collaboration, where maybe we're both trying to offer the same service in one area. There's a Venn diagram with a big red overlap in the middle, but we need to work together to make sure that the end customer, again, either the ISO, ISV, acquirer, merchant, whoever that end customer is, gets the best possible service for their needs,